I will start by commending the federal government for submitting the 2021 budget timely for the implementation to actually start in January 2021. For doing this for the second consecutive year really shows that we are returning to the January to December budget cycle, and the federal government deserves to be commended for that. It's also important to appreciate the federal government for starting early to prepare the Finance Bill 2020, which is a fiscal instrument by which the revenue side of the 2021 budget will be actualized. Again, this is the second year that is happening, so we had a break from the past when we actually had budgets and all we had was appropriation bill. We didn't have the finance bill to go with it. Now, talking about the GDP growth rate of 3%, normally I would say that this is not high enough because the population is growing at 2.6% rate. And if you are not able to double your population growth rate, really that's a recipe for disaster. Okay. However, in the context of a coronavirus pandemic and the recession that we're currently in, and the further is forecasted that the GDP for the country will decelerate to minus 4.2% by the end of the year. What it really means is that for us to grow by 3% in 2021, the actual growth rate will actually have to be 7.2%. And the question is whether we have sufficient growth drivers in the budget to enable us actualize that level of GDP growth rate. I sincerely don't think so, because the budget appears to me to be a public sector-led growth budget of recovery and resilience. For instance, a lot of the infrastructure projects that government highlighted, they're going to be funded from the budget. The president referenced the Road Infrastructure Tax Credit Scheme, which is great. It's a vehicle for attracting private capital for infrastructure development in the country. However, that is not robust enough to attract foreign capital into infrastructure sector in the country. And really, that's the level of capital that we need to actually be able to bridge the infrastructure deficit in the country. I therefore will recommend to the federal government that we need to revamp our public-private partnership framework for infrastructure development in the country. Make it consistent with global best practices in order that foreign capital investors in the infrastructure sector will be attracted to the country to invest in the infrastructure sector. Until we really do that, we are not going to see a leapfrog in infrastructure development in the country, which will be unfortunate because it will continue to constrain the growth of the country. Nigeria has the potential to grow double digit. We did it before 2002, the economy grew by 15%. In 2010 or thereabouts, I think we also grew close to 10% as well. So we have the capability to do that. However, we need to unleash that capability by ensuring that we have appropriate framework in place for infrastructure development. Now, we also need to leverage the external sector more for foreign direct investment inflow into the country. Currently, we depend largely on crude oil earnings to build our foreign exchange reserves. And that became obvious in 2015 when we lapsed into recession because of the significant drop in crude oil prices. Now, we recovered in 2017, not so much because of the policy that government enshrined in the ERGP plan. It's more about the fact that oil price recovered. If oil price didn't recover, chances are that we'll still be in recession. Now we are seeing the same trend in 2020 where on the back of the pandemic, oil price crashed. And with that, our foreign exchange reserves dwindled. And we saw significant depreciation in Naira. Now, we need to move away from that and diversify the sources of foreign exchange inflow into our foreign exchange reserves. And one way we have to do that is through foreign direct investment inflow into the country, in addition to non-oil export development. Now, this is an area where we're underperforming compared to our peer countries, such as Egypt. Egypt also suffered from oil price shock in 2015, just like us. And then when they saw that the economy was struggling, one of the reforms they did was to liberalize their foreign exchange regime. And then they coupled that with other macroeconomic reforms. Now, while there was initial spike in the exchange rate of Egyptian pound to the US dollar, due to the confidence that the economy was able to engender in investors, foreign direct capital has been flowing consistently into that country, to the point that Egypt today is the largest recipient of FDI in Africa. In 2019, they received $9 billion, compared to Nigeria, which was $3.3 billion. And given the fact that the Nigerian economy is much bigger than the Egyptian economy, if only we could have the right policies in place, it means that we can attract more FDIs into this country than Egypt. And if we're able to do that, then we'll be able to have more stability in our foreign exchange reserves, and also, sustainability as well. But this is an area where our government has not been bold enough to really let the naira exchange rate to the dollar to float. Egypt did it, and now their currency is stable, even appreciating against the dollar, and it's the only way out. So still fixing the exchange rate from 306 to 360, 360 to 379, and of course, at the I&E window, the rate is currently about 386. It's not really the right thing for us to do. The same thing we've done for the I&E window is what we need to really introduce across the board in the economy. Let forces of market, forces of demand and supply determine the exchange rate of the dollar. If we do that, there will be investor confidence in this economy, both domestic and foreign. We'll be able to attract foreign capital into the country. And then the kind of growth that we need, which is a private sector-led growth, we will have it. And we'll get to a time when we'll be able to do double-digit growth, which is exactly what we need now in order to create jobs and opportunities for the youth in the country, and also give a bright future to everyone.